U.S. President Joe Biden is in Florida to see for himself the devastation caused by Hurricane Ian. Unofficial figures have recorded more than 100 killed by the Category 4 storm that swept Florida last week before making a second deadly landfall in South Carolina. The president will be meeting Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and will also tour the southwest of the state, which bore the brunt of the hurricane. Well, for more, we can cross live to the US and speak to Arise America correspondent Eric Ham, who joins us from Washington. Good to see you, Eric. And I understand that thousands of people are still without power in Florida.
Yeah, that's right, Charles. Thousands are still without power. We are told that most of the power to the entire state will be restored by this weekend. However, the death toll in the state of Florida continues to rise. Right now, there have been more than 112 people that have been confirmed dead in the state of Florida in the wake of the hurricane. President Biden and the First Lady Joe Biden have touched down in Florida just a few minutes ago. They are now going to be taking a helicopter ride, viewing much of that destruction on the ground. They will be touring the area of Fort Myer, which is in the county of Lee County. Remember, Lee County is where we saw most of the destruction take place and where many of the Florida officials have been heavily criticized for not calling for an evacuation sooner. The president will then go from there to the central hub of where the government, the FEMA, the federal agency for emergency management is. And he will also give an address on the wreckage and the fallout since the hurricane later this afternoon.
And of course, as with all things in America, there's a political element to all of this, isn't there, Eric? Because, I mean, he's meeting Governor Ron DeSantis, who may well end up running against him in 2024. The midterm elections are coming up imminently. At this stage, how are those midterms looking for the Democrats and the Republicans?
Well, you're right, Charles. The president will be meeting today with the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis. Many see Ron DeSantis as a potential presidential candidate in 2024. President Biden, however, addressed that before leaving the White House to go to Florida, where he says that today is not about politics, but it's about making sure that many of the Americans who have been impacted by Hurricane Ian have what they need. Turning to the midterm elections, which are now less than 5 weeks away, Republicans were actually beginning to gain momentum heading into these final weeks. However, in a couple of recent of embarrassments, however, may change that. In Georgia, we know Herschel Walker, the former football star who is running to unseat Democratic incumbent Raphael Warnock, was hit with a charge that he actually paid for an abortion for a girlfriend in 2009. BuzzFeed is actually reporting the story, and the woman, who is unnamed at this time, showed a receipt for the abortion, as well as a personal check from Herschel Walker to her, which she says went to cover that abortion. In addition to that, she showed a card, a get well card that the former NFL star provided to her, saying get well, and he signed his name to it. Since that fallout, we have also heard from Herschel Walker's eldest son, Christian Walker, who has been on social media blasting his father, saying that he has been not the role model that many believe that he is. In addition to that, we have heard from him saying that he terrorized his mother as well as himself, leading them to have to move 6 times because of the violence perpetrated by Herschel Walker on that family. So clearly much of the fallout there. In the state of Pennsylvania, where that race is actually getting tighter, this is a state that Joe Biden won by just a few points. The current senator who is retiring, now that is an open seat, but Dr. Mehmet Oz, the Republican who was also endorsed by Donald Trump, who was actually beginning to gain momentum in the final weeks heading into the election, it has now been reported that he is responsible for 300 puppies that were killed as a result of experimentation while he was at Columbia University. And so clearly much of the momentum that we have been seeing, many of these Republican candidates heading into the final weeks, some of that momentum may have been dashed based on these very embarrassing stories that are now beginning to come out. And also latest polling data in both of those races show that the Democrats are still ahead. And many believe that the race in Georgia could be what determines who controls the Senate in these all-important midterm elections.
And of course, Eric, you mentioned Donald Trump there as endorsing some of those candidates. I mean, what might these midterms mean for the former president, and whether or not he might stage a comeback, briefly?
Well, we are told that he is waiting until after the midterm elections to actually declare that he will be running for president. Depending on what happens with these elections, we're told that he will be running because he believes that is the best way to protect himself from many of the legal challenges that he's confronting right now. But again, Charles, this is going to be a nail biter in determining what happens with these elections. Right now, many believe that all of these, both the House and the Senate, are up for grabs, and the decision can go either way based on what happens between now and, of course, November 8th.
Eric, thanks very much indeed. Eric Ham, Arise US correspondent, talking to me there from Washington.